And then all of a sudden it just turned into this like a cowboy barroom brawl, you know, bodies flying everywhere. I reckon it probably turned out to about a proper, like a fight where there'd be punches flowing and things like that. Maybe once a month that something like that would happen, you know. So, you know, 60, something like that. Started training in 1984. In 1988, I started working for the academy for Jim Fung, and then early '92, I think it was, I moved to New Zealand. So I was fairly experienced, and I'd been to Hong Kong to train. And having been to Hong Kong, I trained with Chu Shong Tin in Australia, but having been to Hong Kong and seeing how they taught there, I wanted to open my own school, and I did it the way that Chu Shong Tin did it, which was quite different to everything I'd seen in Australia. That was kind of like the second stage of what Segung was doing. He was moving into doing more of power generation, doing more form stuff. But it was also the last period of when they just used to do lots and lots of Chi Sao. So I got quite good at fighting from doing Chi Sao, not really knowing what was happening, but just picking up the reflexes. Chu Shong Tin said, you develop the fighting reflexes of Wing Chun by doing Chi Sao. And that's really the point with it. You don't have a plan, you don't remember to do this, but you do this, it's like surfing. You don't remember if the board tips this way, I do that. You just keep your balance. And by doing hours and hours of Chi Sao, I could feel myself improving. When I went to New Zealand, there's a guy, Clinton Anaru, and he's just the toughest guy I'd ever met in your life. He was in with the Black Power, and he could go to the Black Power's gang house and also to the Mongol mob gang house. He was connected to Maori royalty, and he had Irish blood in him too, and he was just the toughest guy. He's the best fighter in, well, anywhere. So I started training him, and it was a similar thing that happened with Nima. I said, you know, I'll train you any day, and Clinton would show up. Not quite, Nima showed up every day for 3 years, like Christmas Day, Boxing Day, every day for 3 years, 3 Christmas days in a row. And once you've said, oh, any time you come, I'll do that, you can't really say no. But Clinton was pretty much the same. We'd train almost every day. And because he was so big and powerful and a natural fighter, but I could still control him with the Chi Sao, and he's a smart guy too, he could see that. That's why he kept coming back. But finally could, you know, I started to get a lot more confidence in the fighting. Someone rang me up. My wife was working as an aerobics instructor, and someone at the gym who owned the pub or managed the pub said he was looking for bouncers, and he rang me up and said, I need a bouncer, can you come? It was a really tough pub, and in New Zealand in those days, this is in the 90s, the early 90s, it was really tough. There was no CCTV to speak of, and there was no rules for bouncing, and so I said to him, like, you know, I'm way too small to bounce. All the other bouncers there were like 6 feet and hundreds of kilos. And he says, oh no, you just need to be able to talk, that's fine. So I thought, oh, I'll try because I needed the money. And it was kind of interesting to me, the fighting side of it too, you know, just to get some experience, I guess. And when I got there, I found out quite quickly the reason that he was short was because it was a bike gang that had fired a gun at at the group of bouncers, and the whole of them had quit. So he was having trouble finding people to come and work for him. But I started working there, and it was the best thing I ever did because it just gave me the confidence. It's one thing is I can always say, okay, well, I'm speaking from experience when I talk about fighting. I don't claim to be the best fighter in the world, but I'm not theorising about it. I've had lots and lots of action as far as that goes. Terrifying. The first time, first time when nothing happened was there was like 5 Mongol mob guys who were all well over 100 kilos, and they had face tats. That's the thing in New Zealand, so they weren't allowed in the pub. And there was just me and one other poor bouncer, and I was new, and the other guy was a big guy and experienced, but I felt sorry for him having me as his backup. we're standing at the door and these guys, we told them they can't come in, and they started lecturing us about how their facial tattoos are part of their Maori Tonga, their culture and all that sort of thing, which is fair enough too, you know. And it was terrifying. I thought we were going to die because they were just standing over us, and the other guy handled it well. Nothing happened. So that was the first thing of, you know, the fear. And then another time, one of the first bits of action was these guys were trying to break into. There was a gang of them. They're cycling, but it's not like a normal cycle group. There's just thugs on push bikes out on an excursion. There's about 30 of them. They wanted to come into the pub. They couldn't come in because they had bare feet and genitals, thongs, things like that. So we're telling these guys they can't come in, and they decide they're going to rush the pub to try and get in. Which you just wonder what they thought they were going to do. They forced their way past us. Like, there was about 5 bouncers. It was a really tough pub. There was about 5 of us on the door at the time during the day, and you know, I just wondered if they were going to rush and then somehow order a beer from the bar before we drew them out. But it got really messy, and you know, you don't know what to do, and then all of a sudden it just turned into like a cowboy barroom brawl. You know, bodies flying everywhere, and one guy about my size, not that big, sort of lands. He'd been knocked by someone else. He landed bang on his knees right in front of me there, and I just went bang like that and really clocked him. Knocked him. I didn't knock him out, but hurt him. And then the next minute I see this mountain sort of man coming towards me, and about 3 bouncers hanging off him. You know, they stopped him from getting to me eventually, and he threatened me and says, you know, right, I saw what you did. That it was his little brother, you know. And he said, right, I'm going to get you. I'm going to come back and I'm going to shoot you. And it might not be next week, might be the week after, but I'm coming back and I'm going to shoot you, you know. And after he left, I said to the other guys, oh, you know, what's he on about? You know, he's full of talk. And they said, no, man, he's really hard. And I said, what? And they said, he got actually thrown out of rugby for good, you know. He's not allowed to play rugby anymore. And I said, why, what happened? And he says, oh, well, he had a fight with the ref. And I said, whoa, you know, and he's thrown out forever. And he said, yeah, he bit his nose off. And so I watched over my back for about 2 years after that, expecting this guy to come back and, you know, get me. But he never came back. It doesn't interest me at all. When I was bouncing, there was a period where I probably got a little bit addicted to it because it's the biggest buzz in the world. Violence is a really powerful thing as far as stimulating your emotions, and I probably got a bit addicted to it. I never bullied people or hit people unnecessarily, but I could feel myself being quite keen if something happened to be involved in that. And then I had an overload of it. Because there was so much violence around me, I just got over it, and I can't imagine myself hitting anyone now, you know. I mean, and the Wing Chun's got so much more than the fighting side. To me, it's the feelings and the thoughts, the control of your body and your mind, and the expansion of your mind that interests me, not the fighting side at all. That's just a really minor part of it, really minor part of it.